welcome back to another episode of the Tech Talks Daily podcast, where, yes, I'm broadcasting directly from latitude 59 in Estonia, the epicenter of the digital revolution. And today, I have the pleasure of introducing a guest who has dedicated his career to combating financial crime. His name is Taavi Tamkivi, and he's the founder of a company called Salv, and has a pretty impressive track record of leading fraud, revenue assurance, and consumer analytics teams, and has been at the forefront of financial crime detection for decades now. However, with the vast and complex landscape of financial crime, I wanted to learn more about why he felt the need to do more and how that would lead him to establishing Salv. Today's guest has also been instrumental in building Europe's first collaborative crime-fighting network. So I want to explore the emerging threats of financial crime, the challenges financial companies face in tackling it, and what the future holds for collaborative crime fighting. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Estonia, where Taavi is waiting to share his insights into the world of financial crime. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Hello, I'm super happy to be here. I am Taavi Tamkivi and I'm a co-founder of a company called Salv. And by education and my thinking, I'm a mathematician and scientist by the background. But I found a way that actually in the world, my mission is to beat financial crime. And that's what I have been doing historically in my previous companies and now in my own company startup as well. We're beating financial crime.
So given your vast experience in fighting fraud, AML, you've got KYC teams at leading companies like TransferWise and Skype. Can you tell me a little about some of the common challenges that you faced in detecting and combating those financial crimes you just spoke about?
Yeah, like one of the major challenges that we had and which still exists in the world is like the criminal behaviors are constantly changing. And the criminals are usually the fastest, earliest adopters of new technologies. And like whenever entrepreneurs, like startuppers, think that we are innovative and we're fast changing and we're coming up with new things, then in most of cases, actually criminals, either fraudsters or people who are laundering the money or terrorists, they're actually much faster. And the earliest adopters are usually them. And like that's, as an entrepreneur, especially in the early stage companies, that's like big shock if you find out that actually like, most of your revenue, so-called revenue, is coming from criminals and you need to pay it back to someone. So that was the common theme I saw back then. And now in today's world also, like we're great fans of the instant payments and the wallets and the cryptocurrencies, but actually, and these are really good for consumers, don't get me wrong, but actually criminals are super effectively using these kind of technologies to launder the money or to steal money from the victims.
I'm curious, why is it you believe financial companies, or have you seen why financial companies often struggle in dealing with financial crime and financial fraud effectively? What are some of the root causes of these challenges?
Yeah, it's like when we talk about money laundering and anti-money laundering activities and then sanction screening and the terrorist financing stopping, usually these things are happening, if they're happening through the financial institutions like banks or fintechs or payment service providers, no one in the company actually sees the real impact of this crime. And that's the main thing, like bottom line or like employee impact, or it's close to zero for the companies. And like the fact that someone is making money from like transferring people between France, like illegal human trading between France and UK, or like smuggling smuggling oligarchs' money from Moscow to London or to Paris. And the bank who happens to be in the middle of that flow is not actually getting hit by this money. Like they're making some profit actually from that. And it's like super hard to motivate them to be effective. So the only thing that they're doing is they're reading the laws. Of course, auditors, regulators, supervisors are watching after them, but there isn't a real business incentive to stop that. And this is like, I see that now it's changing. I hope it's changing, and we're helping to change it and to make it more meaningful for the companies.
And you've taken a major leap by founding Salv. So I've got to ask, what motivated you to establish this platform Can you tell me a little bit more about the philosophy behind the formation of the company as well?
Yeah, what motivated me was actually that I was doing something similar for one company, Skype, and then I did something similar for Wise.
Yeah,
I was helping to protect these companies and our customers against the financial crime. And I saw that still that I can do that, but it's still, my impact is very limited because it was just one company and its customers. And this actually motivated me to think that more broadly, that if I can actually reapply my knowledge in the much wider scale, can I have increased my impact in this crime fighting world? And that motivated me, and luckily many people who have joined my team right now, that we can actually join our forces and help other companies to beat financial crime. And we're so happy that we have loads of companies and their AML and anti-fraud teams who are our allies in this fight, and who are enjoying and using our products, which are including the best knowledge that we as a team are able to put into those.
And I think we should highlight here that Salv is credited as Europe's first collaborative crime-fighting network. It sounds incredibly cool, doesn't it? But can you delve into exactly what that means and how Salv makes this collaboration possible, and why that collaboration is so crucial in that fight against financial crime?
Yes, that's one of the reasons why the legal crime fighters and the banks and fintechs, they are losing this battle right now, is that they don't work together.
Yeah.
There is no information flowing between themselves, no knowledge, no information about the exact highly suspicious customers. And at the same time, criminal networks are working together almost perfect decentralized networks. And if you're not close to that area, think about movies or books that you have read how the criminal or mafia works. And actually, real life, I think it's much worse. And even if logging into dark web and reading how openly people are sharing their expertise, how to attack this company or that company, splitting their funds between the banks and countries. So they work as a network, whereas the crime fighters are working in silos. So even mathematically, it's not possible anyone to win in this. And once we understood it, and that's what we understood back in Skype and Wise, where we had the huge global data sets and we had kind of the network, then actually we discovered that that's something we need to build for rest of the industry as well, to help them to connect data points together. And it's to think about a puzzle where you have only one single puzzle piece and you need to find out what's the whole picture, which is not possible, right? But actually we're building technology platform privacy by design technology, which allows these crime fighting teams to join their findings together into the common understanding. And that's what makes it super powerful actually, and raises their capabilities at least to the level of criminal gangs who are using it already.
It's incredibly cool what you're doing here. And just to bring to life some of what we're talking about, can you share some of the successes or maybe key learnings from your experience building up Salv's collaborative crime fighting network? And are there any interesting case studies you can share with us? You don't have to mention any names, but is there anything you can?
Yeah, I can mention some country names, of course.
Yes.
But yeah, it's one type of the really highly trending crime is it's called scam fraud or scam messages, where usually older people are getting phone calls or SMSs or WhatsApp messages from the criminal gangs who are claimed that they are their bankers or attracting them to make money transfers, bank-to-bank transfers to the other accounts, explaining that it's for the investment, or sometimes it's romance scam or love scam. And lots of people actually get into that. It's, again, if criminals are sending out 1,000 messages, then maybe 5% of the people do react and voluntarily send their money from their bank account to the next bank. And what criminals are doing, of course, this account in the next bank is held by the criminals or money mules already. And the money moves in little hops between the banks, and then it goes into some crypto company in the end, and it's gone. And the problem is that once the victim finds out that he or she got robbed, this money is already gone, into the other side of the world. And actually people are losing their life savings, and they're losing tens of thousands of euros and pounds. And it's happening everywhere where instant payments or faster payments are already really popular, where the payment technologies are really advanced. That's a massive problem. In UK, I think last year people lost $500 million of pounds because of that type of crime. And banks and fintechs and regulators cannot stop it. And now, like, where we come into play is that actually the crime-fighting teams, like, whenever they get report from the victim that their money was stolen, with our platform, they are able to pass on this message to other people or other institutions in the network. And quite often, not always, but quite often, this message moves faster or comes, follows the money, and at some point, maybe on the third or fourth or fifth bank, actually it's possible to stop these proceeds and send it back to the original owner of the money. And like, we have heard the stories where people are like, crying on the phone and they have lost the money, and like few days later, after the process is over and like the 50,000 euros is got back to the client, then it's like the world changes for these people. And these are like really human stories which are happening around us here in Estonia, which is where we launched our like crime fighting network. We call it the Bridge network a couple of years ago, where we saw immediate impact on this type of the crime. And now the same thing is happening in UK and several other countries as well, where the real human beings are getting back their stolen money.
I love that collaboration aspect. And looking forward, I'm curious, how do you envision the future of this collaborative crime fighting? And what are some of the trends or technologies you foresee playing a significant role in this space? Because it's moving so quickly and constantly evolving, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like it's interesting space intellectually, and I think this year, like 2023, is actually the year of the drastic changes in this environment because of three reasons. Like, one is that we have really good technologies out there. Like, we're building proper encrypted messaging. There are other hardcore technologies which are called PETs, or privacy enhancing technologies, which are super useful for like exchanging knowledge but not sharing data about your customers. And many other technologies are there already, and they're getting recognized and audited. And there's one dimension. The other is, of course, the legal world, the legal environment. When our financial institutions, where we as a consumers have trusted our personal data for them, they start exchanging our information. That's actually a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
But luckily, GDPR and similar laws are here to protect our data. And now there is like a great learning curve happening. What are the rules and what are the rules of the game that the GDPR is actually teaching us and forcing us to follow. And building a products which are following the GDPR, but also Bank Secrecy Act, are actually now well recognized by the industry. And also on the government's level, like British Prime Minister 2 weeks ago announced his personal anti-fraud strategy to the whole world, or at least for UK. But the same thing is happening elsewhere, like in Norway, in Thailand, and in the European Commission level as well. So the governments are actually saying that data sharing has to be started between the financial institutions to stop the crime. So that's actually, the legal basis is getting much, much better and stronger. And thirdly, there are real business use cases which are happening. The one I explained before, but there are many others which are related to the war, because the war between Russia and Ukraine, it's encouraging Western countries to announce the new sanction regimes packages, which means that actually it's getting much, much harder for the financial institutions to follow those, to fulfill these requirements, because there is more complexity and there is more need to exchange information with the peers from other institutions. So it's like a perfect storm type of year or environment, where in the middle of technologies, legal changes, and actual drastic crime which is happening around us. So that's pushing this whole industry into the new, basically I'm calling it new category, and this new category is now becoming live.
So from your perspective, what role can individuals, corporations, and indeed governments play in this fight against financial crime? How can they engage effectively with platforms such as Salv to maximise the impact in this fight?
I'm really glad to see that actually the data sharing and this intelligence sharing network, it's not anymore limited only by the banks, or there are also other institutions around the banks who are joining these networks. So as I mentioned, crypto companies, or fiat to crypto companies, are joining because they see some suspicious activities, but also they want to be seriously taken by the banks also. They want to be serious players. loan companies, pension funds, but also recently we have seen also the government institutions, the public sector institutions joining the network to join the forces between the private and public sector. So famous PPP term actually is getting some real meaning for this as well. Like, so there are tax and customs department and law enforcement and police forces are joining the network because they see also that there is important information that they can provide to the financial sector and then actually extended financial sector and also to get back. And obviously as the money laundering is happening not only in the financial world, but it's happening also in the trading and other part of the industries as well. We're looking to cooperate like online gambling and these kind of industries to take part of that. So that's like natural growth, like viral growth of the network, which is happening around us. And I'm super glad that it has started here in Europe because the environment between the different countries and the different types of the crimes that we're seeing is like super complex. So this kind of networking between different industries helps to overcome this complexity a bit.
Incredibly cool. And obviously we're recording this podcast at latitude 59 here in Estonia. And I've got to ask, are there any key themes in the conversations that you're hearing on the show floor or the keynotes on stage that you'll be thinking about on the way home? Does anything stand out to you?
Well, it's to be honest, this year I'm just meeting with loads of investors because we're in the middle of raising our A round investments, and I haven't had really time to listen to the people on the stages. But one thing which is clear and which is definitely strength of Estonian startup community is this same networking here. People know each other. They're sharing information, like their experience. Again, their funds and money as well, investment wise. But I'm part of the core part of the Estonian startup ecosystem, and like there are thousands and thousands of people working here and like 1,000+ companies. And being like alumni from Skype and Wise, I come to these events like Latitude and a few others. It's like family reunion or like old friends that I've been working for last 15 or 20 years together. They come here and then there are like young entrepreneurs who are just first time meeting in these events. And there is no competition between these people and these companies because we know that our market is so tiny that everyone is just piloting and testing their products over here. And they're expanding to the wider world. And that's the common understanding and basis, and like everybody is knowing everyone. And that's making this space so special. And that's kind of exactly what we're doing in our product for the banking industry and crime fighters to bring them closely together like people here in Latitude.
Well, it's been an honor to have you on the podcast today. Before I let you go now, I think we were saying earlier in the show how fastly this space is moving, how quickly everything's evolving. How do you keep up to speed with the level of change and monitoring the trends? Is it your community? Is it books? Or do you research? Or how do you keep up to speed with things and stay ahead of the curve in this fight?
Yes, thanks to the fact that I've been doing the crime fighting myself, like I know the pains and techniques, but that's a history for me. But also in these days, I'm more like, yes, we're doing research, definitely. We have some really strong industry leaders like who have been doing research around the data sharing and AML for the last 15 years, and they're like top players. Also look forward-looking visionary people. But the really key is actually communicating and speaking with the people in the industry. And luckily, like number of people who are active in our space is not huge. Like, of course, number of people who are working in the banks doing the day-to-day hard operational work, that's a huge number of people. But like more senior thinkers, chief risk officers, CFOs, heads of AML and head of compliance, it's not that huge market, and it's possible to meet people, and these people again are really open. That's like one really interesting factor, that even between the companies who are like competitors, like two banks or two great fintechs, there are companies in the grand scheme of things. Their crime fighters actually work together. They're happy to share their experience, their knowledge, their worries, their limitations, and being part of this community, again, it brings a lot of new knowledge and new information, and helps to validate our own understanding. Like there are things or like bets we have made incorrectly, and we learn from the market. And again, it's not about like other startups working in the consumer market. They're testing things like through the A/B testing and different other high volume techniques. In our case, it's just about like meeting people, having a good talk around coffee or like a beer and like or dinner, and people open up and they're sharing their latest learnings with others as well.
Fantastic. And before I let you go, for anyone listening just wanting to learn a little bit more about Salv or even yourself there, or reach out and ask a few questions to your team, where would you point everyone listening to find out more?
Yeah, it's my own LinkedIn profile is definitely open. Like it's Taavi Tamkivi, but also we have our webpage, salv.com, which is like really open and full of information for everyone and reading about recent developments that we're doing.
Well, they say time is money, and you're here to try and secure some money in that Series A funding. So I cannot thank you enough for taking the time away from doing that important stuff to share your story with me. But thank you today.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this.
Wow, what a great guest there. A relentless warrior in the fight against financial crime. And I think his insights into the world of financial crime and the critical role of collaborative efforts to combat it are truly enlightening. So a big thank you to Taavi for joining us today, shedding light on the intricacies of financial crime detection and prevention. And please, as always, let me know your thoughts on this topic if you've got anything you'd like to add. But that's it for today, so a big thank you for listening as always, and until next time, don't be a stranger.